What's going on, guys? Hopefully you're all doing well. First of all, I'd just like to thank you guys for coming to my first ever YouTube tutorial. This has been the most requested video on my channel so far, and I finally took the time to sit down and do something for you guys. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Alex Cormier. I'm a cinematographer and photographer based in Canada, and today we're going to talk about color grading. Now, if you're like me, you probably spent way too much money on LUTs and never really were satisfied with the final results you got out of them. And that's where Film Convert really shines. So Film Convert is a film emulation plugin that you can use on Final Cut, Premiere, DaVinci Resolve that helps you get the film look. Now, I'm proud to say that Film Convert is a sponsor of this video. Before we start, I'd just like to say I paid for Film Convert when it initially came out, and I only reached out to them afterwards after using this plugin for a few months because I really wanted to share my experience with Film Convert with you guys. They really took the time to scientifically develop some camera profile and camera packs that you can download to make sure that no matter what camera you shoot on, you're able to properly convert your footage to your favorite film stock. So before we start, I'd just like to say I'm not a professional colorist. I don't pretend to know everything about color grading. Today we're going to go over my workflow, but just know that there's 1,000 different ways you can color grade your footage. So let's dive into DaVinci Resolve and I'll show you what this is all about. First of all, I laid out a node tree for you guys, so I'll explain the order later, but first of all, what I like to do is put Film Convert on the third node. Now you'll notice the footage is all grayed out and it's perfectly normal. You just need to tell Resolve and Film Convert what camera that footage was shot on. So that's why it's important to download the camera profiles for your specific camera. In that case, I shot on Blackmagic 6K with FilmGen Color Science. Gen 5, sorry about that. And right off the bat, I mean, if you look at the footage, it's amazing. Now, Film Convert has 19 different stocks to choose from. So whether you're looking for Fuji stocks or Kodak, they really have a variety of nice stocks you can use. But what I like to do is hover over the different film stock options to see what works best with my footage. In that case, I think I chose Portra 400 for that shot. I mean, it's beautiful. Once I chose my film stock, then I'll play with exposure and white balance. So in that case, I'll bring up the exposure a little bit, but then you start to see I'm almost clipping in the high end here. So I'll actually go in my previous node, which is my highlight recovery node, and I'll bring down the highlight. So you'll see I'll recover some information there. Perfect. So then we go back in our Film Convert node and adjust the temperature and tint to our liking. And that looks good to me so far. So once my exposure is good, my white balance is where I want it, my film stock is selected, I actually choose Super 35 most of the time as my film size. And it just gives us a very pleasing look. So that's what I usually select. Have a look at all the different options for grain. So you can choose the strength, the size, the saturation of the grain, and also the image softness. Usually what I do, I go in film grain curve here, which will be on the bottom of your viewer. And then I like to reduce the grain in the black a little bit, just to have some clean blacks and reduce the shadows as well. Not too much. And then leaves these three as is. So mid-tone, highlight, and whites, I like to keep it where they are. I feel like when you have clean blacks and shadows and you have grainy mid-tone, highlight, and whites, it gives you a nice textural contrast, so I really like that. You also have great options to adjust your levels, so if you want to make your blacks blacker or your whites whiter, you can also play with that. But I mean, it looks good right now and I won't play with it more than I have to. One thing I like to do as well is to put some emphasis on the subject. So what I'll do, I'll create a serial node right after my Film Convert node, and then right after that you can actually add an outside node. So I'll go in my windows, select the circular window, and shape it to my liking. So that looks pretty good. It's really important to soften the image out, so you can take those red dots and spread them out, or you can go just here and spread them. So I usually like to keep it between 18 and 36 or so. You can invert the mask, go in your curves, and then bring down the exposure on the outside of the stuff you don't want to focus on. Perfect. Then we'll focus on our subject, which is here. Turn on editable splines, click on the top, point there, and raise it up a little bit. So if we compare before and after, we just gave an extra pop to our car there. One more thing, I'll add another serial node, another window. I'll make sure that we don't clip. You can click on Shift H to see your selection, click it again to deactivate it, and then I'll just drop the highlights here. I mean, if you look at the before and after, it's just amazing how in a couple steps we were able to create something that you would see in Hollywood. All right, guys, so let's grade shot number 2. So here, same concept. We'll apply film convert on the third node. It was shot on Blackmagic Pocket 6K as well. Boom, right off the bat. I mean, if we look off 3 clicks, what we've been able to do. You know what? Just for the sake of this video, let's choose something different than Portra 400. All right, yeah, that looks good already. So same thing. Play with the exposure. Now I feel like the road is a bit too magenta, too red, so we'll actually bring down the tint and then go to saturation. Perfect, that looks good. We'll select Super 35 here as our film stock, and the grain will do the same thing. Lower the blacks and the shadows. So I'm very happy with the results we have so far. One thing I feel like there's missing is just power windows to help us focus the eyes in the middle of the frame. So what we'll do, we'll create 3 parallel nodes. So you can actually right click on your serial node here, add node, and add parallel node. And what it will do is blend your different nodes here. We'll start with a gradient here just to highlight the road. And then I'll go in my curves and bring it down. Oh, editable spline is on. I'll go in my curves and bring it down, and then I'll do the same thing in my sky just to give it an extra pop of contrast in the sky. That works well. And we'll just add some contrast. Boom, perfect. And I know some of you are thinking it right now. Alex, you're shooting on a 12-bit camera. It shoots raw. Of course, you're getting some nice colors, but yeah, just wait a sec, because I thought of you. I thought of that question. I actually took a shot from a previous project I did on the Sony a7 III, which is an 8-bit camera, and you'll see the results are amazing. So here we'll create 4 nodes to start. The second one will be for highlights. We'll have film convert on the third node, as we always do, and then we'll have a 4th node to use if ever we need to do some post-grade adjustment. So as always, we'll use film convert, drop it on the third node, we'll apply the right conversion, Sony a7 III S-Log2 S-Gamut, and then boom. You'll notice right away that the footage is overexposed, and that's perfectly normal with Sony footage, especially when you're using log. You want to expose to the right, so we'll have to correct that by dropping the exposure. Now that looks good. Then we'll choose our film stock. In that case, we'll use Portra 400 as usual. I love what it does to the blues here. So we chose our film stock. Now we'll play with our white balance. I want to warm it up a little bit. I feel like there's a little bit too much magenta going on right now in the image, so we want to drop that down, get those greens in. That looks good to me now. So here, what I want to do after I got the look I'm going for, we're actually going to add some nodes to add some character to the image. Add a parallel node. What you can do, you can actually right click on the node, add node, and parallel node. So what we'll do now is add glow to the image. It just helps out with the highlight roll off a little bit. So what we need to do is change the blending mode to soft light and then play with the shine threshold and the spread. That looks good to me, but it's a bit too intense, so we'll go in the global blend and drop it down. It's perfect. Then we'll go on our 5th node here and add film damage. So here we'll want to reduce the film blur to the max. We'll want to get rid of the focal factor and geometry factor for the vignetting. we'll want to change the dirt, drop that all the way down for every single scratch. And then we'll adjust the temperature and tint to our liking. It's a bit too warm here, so I'll want to bring it down. That looks good to me. Then the tint, same thing. Now that looks good. I feel like this sky is still a bit too bright, so we'll go on our highlight recovery node here and drop the highlight a little bit. So that looks pretty good to me. One thing I want to do to get the focus on the bike is to create some windows. So right after our parallel nodes, we want to add a serial node and then an outside node. So you can right click here, add node, outside node, and then we'll do some windows. So we'll click on the 7th node, click on the windows here, add a circular window and shape it around the bike. We'll actually put it that way instead. Then you can add the softness to about 20 to 30 just to make it soft. Invert the mask. Then we'll drop the mids here. So there's a nice natural vignetting going on. So your eyes are focused in the middle of the frame. Then we'll go on our outside node, which will select the exact opposite of what we selected on our node 7. We'll turn on editable splines here. Click on our top point and start moving the point a little further up. Perfect. Then we'll just add another node, click on that icon here to add sharpness, and then we'll go to 47, 48. So if you watch this video and want to use Film Convert from now on your color grading projects, just know that they gave me a 10% discount to give to you guys. So you can use Alex10 at checkout and get 10% off your Film Convert purchase. I'm super interested in creating more content for you guys, but I want to know what you guys want to see. So let me know down below, and yeah, till next time.